Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to start the video by saying, and in this video I will discuss why I keep saying, listen to it right now. I hope you pay attention to the most beneficial part you hear, skim over the details and ignore anything that may be harmful. And then with that, let's get today's video started. And when God says, يهدي من يشاء ويضل من يشاء, or He guide whom He wills and misguide whom He wills, and that stirs up a lot of questions like, whoa, does God misguides people? Does that mean it's not my choice? If it's God who guides whom He wills and misguides whom He wills, then it's not my choice, or it's not the outcome from my own actions. And that's what the topic is going to be. God's will, and does He actually misguides people? And if He does, how or what does that mean? God's will. In Surah An-Nahl, verse 93, يقول الله, God says, وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَلَكِنْ يُضِلُّ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَلَتُسْأَلُنَّ عَمَّا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And had God willed, He would have made you one community, but He leads astray whom He wills and guides whom He wills, and you will be questioned about what you did. Now we want to pay attention on the part in which it says, He leads astray whom He wills and guides whom He wills. Does that mean we don't actually have a choice? Does that mean it's God's choice to guide whom He wills and misguide who leads astray whom He wills, and we're just like right there, I hope I'm on the good side? First, I want to tell you, let's establish the fundamentals of religion, or of the message of God to us. This message, or this fundamental topic, or this fundamental 3 points, are how God communicated, or are the message that gets sent to all His prophets. Moses, Abraham, Jesus, Muhammad, all the prophets received this message. And it starts with God and who He is. Then it goes to Judgment Day and what it is, and then us and how we fit in this topic, or in this, in this script, or in this premise. So, who God is. In the Quran, the phrase Allah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim is repeated all over the Quran, and is explained in the Quran what does it mean. And in the descriptions, or in the translations, I see, or like it's translated as the most merciful, the most gracious. Although that's not wrong, it's really is not fair, and it's not encompassing of the meaning of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So we'll take God and who He is as described in the Quran, and we'll take a part of that, and the most important part of it as well. So God described Himself to us as that He's the one that made the earth, made the sky, and brought water from the sky, and thus everything you see is that result. Yes. Look around you, look at yourself, look at the table, look at the cars, look at the planes, look at this device you're watching right now. It's a result of God making the earth, then the sky, and then water brought down to the earth, and everything became possible because of that. How so? Well, God made the earth, the sky, and then water came down. And because of that, we have the air, grass came out, animals ate the grass, and then we came, and we ate the animals and the grass. We made villages, we made communities, we made societies, and we made cars, and we made clothes, and all of that, all the glory you see, everything you experience, and all the problems in the world, all the happiness in the world, all the positive things, all the negative things, everything you experience is back to water coming down from the sky to the earth. And that's how God usually describes Himself. And that's just a shortcut, or the simplest way, and we'll discuss that even more in a community link in the description if you want to learn more. And then the second one is the Day of Judgment. The Day of Judgment is essentially, after we establish who God is, He's the one that made the earth, made the sky, brought everything water. Thus, everything you see is a result of that. And the Day of Judgment. Basically, anything that has a start has an end. You go to school, there is examination day. You bake a cake in the oven, you make it, you bake it, it's gonna end. You're gonna have the result. You start a job, there is an end to it. You start work, there is a result to it. I'm filming this video, it's gonna be published. Anything that starts have an end. So is the world. Everything, the Day of Judgment is essentially what the world is leading up to. You see the plants, or you see the earth, the sky, and the water that came down and resulted everything that we see around. That's still being baked. The end result is the Day of Judgment, where it's the conclusion, where everything is leading up to. And in the Day of Judgment, God has two things in it. The heaven and the hell. Heaven and hell. And we hope to go to heaven, of course. And then comes us. In this premise in which God made the earth, the sky, and brought down water, and thus everything you experience and see is because of that, we are, along with the jinns, are the only creature that has been given a choice, which is in the chapter 3, chapter 76, verse 3. سورة الإنسان يقول الله إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا. We guided him on the path, be he grateful or be he ungrateful. So, we are the only creature that have a choice between, that actually have a choice to live one type of lifestyle or the other. No other creature have that except humans and the jinn. And that's the responsibility that we have. And that is the premise. To go over that again, God made the heavens and the earth, brought down water. As a result, everything you see is because of that. And it's leading up to the Day of Judgment. And this is the baking process. And the Day of Judgment is the final result and what everything is leading up to. And we humans and jinns have the choice of picking what lifestyle we choose and how we live our life. And we are the only creature that has that. And thus, in the Day of Judgment, we'd be separated into either heaven or hell of what we did. So that's the three main points. God made the heavens and the earth, the Day of Judgment, which is what everything is leading up to, and then us, the players in this premise. Now that we established the summary or the gist, we can take into the clarification by what does it mean when God says that He leads astray whom He wills and guide whom He wills. We will take some examples, and from these examples, you will see how it actually makes sense. And let's do that right now. So, for example, God gives health whom He wills and gives sickness whom He wills. What does that mean? If we say God gives health whom He wills and gives sickness whom He wills, does that happen? Do you see that God gives health whom He wills and gives sickness whom He wills? Have you ever experienced that? What does that even mean? That doesn't even make sense. Well, here, let's break it down a little, or let's clarify. God has made heaven and hell. God has made possibilities, whether you take that route or in that route. And because of these choices, we have health and sickness, wealth, poverty, pain, happiness. We have these contradicting or opposite parts, and we are the ones that get to pick. But it's gonna make sense in a few. Stick around. So when we say that God gives health whom He wills, imagine two people. One person takes a lifestyle of eating healthy food and exercising. The other person eats junk food, doesn't take care of himself, and sleeps all day. Now, the first person is going to be healthy, and the second person is going to essentially at one day or what time be sick. It's like, whoa, but that's not God who willed that. That's them that picked the lifestyle that led them to that position. Exactly. God is the owner of everything. God's will is everything that's possible. He made the things, the healthy food, He made the exercise, He made the ability to exercise, He made the ability for bad food to exist, the ability not to exercise or stay healthy. He made that possible. That's His will. Anything that's possible is God's will. And you get to pick and choose which one you want. How do you do that? By practicing it. So if you eat the healthy food, exercise, and take a healthy lifestyle, in that case, God willed you health. Or you aligned yourself with God's will of giving you health. And if you eat nasty food or not healthy food and lead a unhealthy lifestyle, then God willed you sickness. Or God willed that you have sickness. He gave the possibility of health and sickness, and you essentially picked which one you wanted. And in that case, as you see, it's almost interchangeable. You can say God gives health whom He wills, or even God gives health whomever wants, or God gives sickness to whom He wills. You can also say God gives sickness whoever wants. Let's take another example. Now, God gives strength whom He wills. God gives weakness whom He wills. Again, let's take our two people again, the two twins, and put them in the different situations. The first twin goes to the gym and exercises, and always improves himself. He looks around what's available in his environment, and uses that to exercise and gain muscle, eat healthy food still. The other person, the other brother, he sleeps all day, he doesn't work out, he doesn't do physical activities, and he's inactive, physically inactive. God made those two possibilities possible. That's His will. And the first one picked the one route, and the second one picked the other route. Regardless of which one is positive, regardless of which one is negative, God made those possibles, and those His wills. The first one, God willed, He took those actions or that lifestyle, which led him to a healthy, to a strength or a healthy body and strength. The other one took the other lifestyle and led to a weak body. In these cases, you can say that for the first one, God willed him strength. The other one, God willed for him to be weak. Or also, another way you could say it, for the first one, that God gives strength whoever wants, or God gives weakness whoever wants. And you can see it's starting to make sense. Let's take another example. God gives poverty whom He wills, and gives wealth whom He wills. Now let's say these two brothers again. The first one provides value. Wherever he goes, he finds a way to provide value and make stuff and provides value to the surrounding environment. The second brother only consumes and doesn't provide anything in return. The first one took the habit and the lifestyle, and that inevitably led him to wealth. The other one of only consuming and not producing took that lifestyle and inevitably led to poverty. In these two cases, the first one we can say, oh, because he took those actions or that lifestyle that God made possible in the first place, God willed him wealth. And the other one who took only consuming and not producing, not saving, not wasting his lifestyles that God made possible, and he took that lifestyle, we could say that God willed him poverty. Or another way of saying it is that God gives wealth whomever wants, God gives poverty whomever wants. Let's take another example. And now, this is the example that we went back to. God guides whom he wills and misguide whom he wills. Now, I'm pretty sure that it should have been clear what does it mean when God misguides people. Let's take these two brothers again and see what they go. The first one, who God has guided, whenever he hears something, whenever he listens to people, whenever he reads something, whenever he experiences something in life, he wants to benefit from it. He asks himself, what's the most beneficial part in that thing that I consumed? The other one, when that happens, he looks for the worst part in everything that he consumes. So what? The first one is going to be guided. The other one is going to be misguided. And in this case, we could say for the first one, God willed that God guided whom he wills, and God misguides whom he wills. Another way of saying God guides whomever wants, and God misguides whomever wants. The choice is ours. God's will is anything that's possible, and our will is what we choose, and what we choose is God's will anyway, because he made it possible in the first place. And to give you proof on that and how I got into that conclusion, in chapter 39 verse 18, God says, إن الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه أولئك الذين هداهم الله وأولئك هم أولو الألباب. Those who listen to what is said and follow the best of it, these are the ones God has guided, and these are the people of reason. As you can see, this is exactly why in every beginning of video and every end I say that, or I emphasize that the watcher pays attention to the most beneficial part, skims over the details and ignore anything that's harmful. Essentially, if you do that, then God wills you guidance. Then God has willed guidance on you. And on the other hand, if you listen to what is being said and pay attention to the most harmful part and the details and ignore the most beneficial part, then God's will is to misguide you. Like, whoa, it makes sense now, is that anything that's possible is God's will, and we are the ones that chooses one way or the other. As we said, again, there's a tree with healthy fruit, there's a tree with rotten fruit. If you go to the healthy tree with a good fruit and eat those healthy fruit, then God willed you health. That's a possibility. God made that tree, and you took the time and went to that tree and took those healthy fruits. So God willed you health. On the other hand, if you go to that bad tree and took the rotten fruit, God willed you weakness and sickness and unhealthiness. Did God do it on purpose for you? He made the possibilities, and you're the one that picked it. Those are the possibilities, and you're the one that chooses. Another way of saying, God guides whoever wants guidance. God misguides whoever wants misguidance. And now, the conclusion. Let's conclude by this with going back to God's will. As we know, He's the one that made the earth. He's the one that made the heavens. He's the one that brought water from the sky or from the heavens and made everything around you the way it is. As we said, the cars, the buildings, the phones is as a result of water coming down, grass, then animals, then we eat those and make society, community, countries, and these technologies. All of that goes back because of water coming from the sky to the earth. And that's the world that we live in. And that world is leading up to something. That something is called the Judgment Day, the Day of Judgment. And we are in that premise. And we are the only creatures with the jinns that, given the choice of picking this side, or to align our wills with this side or that side, or to pick what God has willed, or what God makes possible, and we take which possibility we want by our actions. You can say that God gives heaven who he wills and gives hell whom he wills. Or God gives heaven whomever wants, and God gives hell whomever wants. When you hear that, what comes to your mind? The first one, he took the actions that are necessary to take you to heaven. The second one, he picked the actions or the possibility that leads him to hell. And to reinforce that, in chapter 76, ayah 30, God says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. And you cannot will unless God wills. Indeed, God is all-knowing, all-wise. As you can see, your will is within the confines of God's will, and you simply choose this way or this way. And as we know, God willed for there to be heaven and hell, and these are the pinnacle of the choices of poverty, health, sickness, of all these opposing stuff that you get to choose which one you want by your actions. Heaven and hell is the pinnacle and is the magnified pictures of these, and your actions are going to take you that route. I hope you paid attention to the most beneficial part, skimmed over the details, and ignored anything that may be harmful. And with that, God will is to guide you if you do that. On the other hand, if you pay attention to the most harmful part, pay attention to the details, and ignore anything that's beneficial, in that case, we can say that God willed you misguidance. I hope you go to heaven.